Dear everyone, let's understand about the legendary story of Samudra Manthana in its true spiritual sense. We know about the ancient story of Samudra Manthana that the Suras, that is the Devas, and the Asuras, that is the demons, both with their daring valor, churned the Meru Parvata, holding the serpent Vasuki with the desire to get Amrit. Now let's see what does this actually relate to. We know that our mind is an ocean of all biases. That is good, bad, right, wrong, and so on. Of course, nothing is wrong about them because in the beginning of the spiritual journey, both the positives and the negatives are a grave necessity. And because only by laddering through them can you move ahead and evolve spiritually by breaking through the psychological barriers and transcend your own consciousness. Nobody can escape from the tight grip of these dualities. You can only transcend them. Now, when you are decidedly living among this crowd of positives and negatives, then simply befriend them because it is you who have created the darker side and the brighter side in your mind. When both are your own parts of the mind, then how can you choose one and elude from the other? You cannot be grateful towards one and regretful towards other. Learn to treat them equally. You cannot choose only the pleasant ones and escape from the unpleasant ones because it's you who have sowed those seeds in your mind's garden. And as they start growing, even if you don't like weeds, still weeds too start growing along with them. Now, what you call as useless or bad always exists with good. You cannot separate them. If you want peace and satisfaction in life, then you have no other option than to treat them equally. Good times or bad times, both should be welcomed equally. We cannot choose one and escape from the other. Now, how to treat them equally and transcend them is what today's topic is all about. Here, I'm trying to explain you the enigmatic sense of this game of the opposites which keep on happening in our own body and mind. You might have heard of Samudra Manthana depicted in our Upanishads. Samudra means ocean and Manthana is churning of it. Like when you churn the curd from the milk, you get butter and then you get ghee. Ghee is only the modified form of milk. In the same way, we have to churn the milk that is a kshira in the ocean or sagara of the mind. In this kshira sagara or the ocean of our mind, we have both the positives and the negative aspects of life. The positive aspects of the mind, that is peace, love, compassion, caring, joyfulness, happiness, hope, adventure, kindness, commendable, worthy, truth, faith, gracious, virtue, excellence, success, merits, pleasantfulness, satisfaction, and so on, etc., etc. These are all aspects that have been personified as the Devas in our ancient lore, and the negative aspects of the mind, that is anger, greed, jealousy, dishonor, ego, guilt, arrogance, self-pity, inferiority, and all kinds of sins and illusions and etc. are all called as the asuras or the demons in our mind. Both these aspects of the mind, by holding on to the power of yogic competence, that is the Kundalini serpent, or metaphorically called Vasuki the serpent. These dichotomies, that is the positives and the negatives, churn the life energy by curling Vasuki the serpent around the Meru Dhanda or Meru Parvata, that is the spinal cord. Meru is the spine. The serpent Vasuki is the life energy that remains dormant at the sacrum region, that is at the Muladhara, and when it is roused through initiation of the dynamic meditation, It rises by curling itself to the mountain of spine, that is the Meru Parvata, and elevates itself to Swadhisthana, then to Manipuraka, then to Anahata, then to Vishuddhi, then to Agna, and finally it blooms in the Sahasrahara, also called as the 1,000-petal lotus. Now, as this energy rises higher and higher, on the way it gets rubbed, it gets pulled and attritioned to augmentation of stressful energy. Now, due to the outcome of the stressful churning, many gods and goddesses like Lakshmi, like Airavata, Apsaras like Rambha, Urvashi, Menaka, Panjasthala, and the god of Kama, even the Parijata tree were all born. Even the Halahala or the Kalakuta poison also emerged out due to this churning. And as per the story goes, Shiva swallowed this Halahala poison and Parvati blocked it at his throat, and from then Shiva was named Nilakantha. Now let's see how does this relate to our day-to-day life. The secret is, if you too, without escaping from the hold of the opposites, that is, without grumbling about the bad things or the bad times that happen in your life, without fleeing from the unpleasant ones, or without even clinging to the pleasant ones, without sticking to the pride of your goodness, or without disrupting your poise to face evil, if you can remain so strongly without getting distracted by the dvandvas in your life, then you will become a dvandvatita. A dvandvatita is the one who has gone beyond the hold of the opposites. For him, any difficulty and adversity in his life is endured like a game. If you keep churning the good and the bad, that is, rubbing, pulling, fighting, and struggling with those good and bad aspects of life, without fleeing from them, then due to the enormous friction created by the struggling with them, poison gets released from you. Poison means it's your own darkness, it is your own ignorance, your own agnana gets released out of you, which means you are freed from the shackles of ignorance, from intense sufferings. You are freed from your inner turmoil. Because you had firmly adhered to your true sadhana and without escaping from the hold of the opposites, then God's grace descends upon you and your ignorance or agnana is swallowed by Him, and you will be restored with a new clarity of life, with a new jnana, with a new awareness, a new light in your life. Only the true seeker is offered, that is, the one who has not escaped from the hold of the opposites and who has remained poised towards it, in spite of a battalion of strugglings in his life. Only he is offered with the nectar of life. This nectar is referred to as Amrit in the lore. Amrit symbolizes the ultimate goal of life, that is self-realization. This new light or awareness is called the Amrit or the nectar of life. And only at this stage, a totally different dimension towards life opens up. And it's a life that is totally free of both good and bad. A life that is called godliness. The legend says that our body is itself a temple, the abode of gods and goddesses. But we have misinterpreted the story and the celestial forms in the story and have mistaken their sanctity as just rituals and literal signs. Actually, each form hides wisdom in it. Each form has its abode in the human system. To explain this more easily, in our life, these two aspects, that is, the positives and the negatives, they are like two teams in a game of life. And they keep on combating with each other. And they are always involved in winning over the other. Like good over bad or right over wrong. But remember, only that team wins whereupon your attention is fixed. Your attention acts like food to the players in the game. Like if you pay more attention to love and compassion, then by eating your attention, love and compassion become more powerful and win over hatred and jealousy. Or if you show more attention to hatred or jealousy, then they feed on your attention and become even more dreadful. Just as love begets more love, so does hate beget more hatred. To whom you feed matters the most. But remember not to be one among the player. That is, you are not anger, you are not fear, you are not even success, nor are you a failure. You are just a spectator in the game of life. A spectator is just a watcher, an observer, a witness. When you are not anger, when you are not fear or good or bad, then you become the ruler of it. A ruler rules the mind. He is not its slave. You are no more your mind's slave. It is not that you don't get angry. It's not that you don't become fearful anymore. But your anger or fear or right or wrong has a quality of authoritative truth to it. You see them both equally. So never escape from the storm of the opposites. Be patient. The storm will soon settle and a new light will shine forth. And thank you for listening.